All right, Demon Slayer Infinity Castle. I think all of us, or most of us, have already seen the movie, but just a quick heads up. If you are watching this, just know that this is going to be a spoiler review. I did do a non spoiler review, but that's over on my TikTok if you're watching this over on YouTube. But I think in terms of this movie, I have seen it so many times. This is full disclosure, I've seen this movie 5 times. 3 times were with various friend groups, while 2 of those times were just for my own personal satisfaction. I've watched it in IMAX, I've watched it in Dolby, I watched it in standard, I watched it in subbed, I watched it in English dub, all these things just to see exactly what experience that I would have preferred it more in. And let me tell you, first things first, when it comes to presentation and just overall audio and visual pleasure, I think Dolby, for me, was the way to go, especially with just how much the OST accentuates the scenes. Dolby is one of wow. And honestly, just being real with you, I love IMAX. I think IMAX is great for what it is, but just the Dolby's presentation isn't bad either. And when you have Demon Slayer's super vibrant colors and everything like that, I think Dolby did a much better job at having the colors be more vibrant and loud, and the darker scenes were dark. It didn't feel kind of, I don't know if I just had bad luck, but for the IMAX experience, I felt like a lot of the colors were just, they weren't flat or anything, but they didn't feel as like defined as Dolby. I don't know, man. But yeah, when you're watching this movie, I mean, you can't really go wrong with any format, but I just really found myself just super involved and immersed in Dolby. Now, in terms of the actual movie itself, holy shit. When it comes to Demon Slayer, I honestly, it's never been something that I worried about production wise, where I'm just like biting my nails, just nervous to see if they land it, because in terms of the adaptation, they elevate so much of what the manga already offered, to the point where I'm never going into a season, or just going into the movie worrying about, oh my god, are they going to do this right? They're going to do it right. I feel like after 4 seasons of just constant consistency, it's very difficult to say that they don't land something. But I will say, in terms of performance, I was really looking forward to Shinobu's shift, because what we know from Shinobu, yes, from the conversations that she's even had with Tanjiro on the rooftop in, season 1, episode 20 or 21 or something like that, she was, she was very clear with Tanjiro, yeah, I am always angry. But this is the first time that we're actually able to see her outwardly angry. She's taking off the mask and truly showing how she feels when she's facing Doma. And let me tell you, the voice actor killed it. Like, from beginning to end, I was just so immersed and sold by her performance. And like, you can literally just feel her frustrations and her anger and her sadness. And it's just so crazy to me that, like, even while seeing this hype ass scene, you like, at least for me, you're getting scared for this girl. And I've read the manga, so even though I knew what was going to happen, it feels so new still to see it in motion. And I think that's why I love Ufotable so much. I mean, obviously you're able to say this about any production studio, but especially with Ufotable's presentation and how they, extend scenes, how they add to the scene with sound design and just overall audio and visual quality, to really put you into the scene and to get you emotionally invested in these characters. And the directors on this movie is just, they're both amazing. Hikaru Kondo, you did an amazing job. Haruo Sotozaki, you did an amazing job. I think overall, there isn't much that I would change with this movie, and that's just me being perfectly honest. Yes, people can argue that the flashbacks were excessive, but I think I love flashbacks just because it gives you substance to a lot of these characters, because I don't like a flat character. That's probably like one of my biggest complaints about another anime that I'm not going to bring up, because it's not about that anime. But there are so many things that Demon Slayer does that truly does add to the emotional impact of so many characters, that I personally think these flashbacks do a fantastic job at preparing you, or even just giving you time to breathe while giving you the opportunity of learning more about Shinobu, learning about Doma, learning about Akaza, learning about all these other characters that we've seen throughout the series that makes you understand them more. And honestly, overall, when it comes to this movie, I was super curious to see exactly how people would respond to seeing these flashbacks. And I'm actually impressed. Obviously, there are people that just couldn't stand it. But overall, in terms of how people felt about, the flashbacks and just overall execution of them, I think it was overly positive. And I'm I'm honestly so relieved, especially because there are so many characters that we're going to learn about throughout the remainder of the Infinity Castle arc that are also going to have their moment to get the time they need to flesh out their characters even more. But man, let me focus on the star of the show. Akaza himself. This man has been my favorite ever since Mugen Train, but this is wow. I mean, already I loved his backstory, and I feel like the crazy part is they could have added a whole lot more because in the Taisho era secrets we get a lot more information on his character. But there is just so much that they add to Akaza's character in terms of his personality, in terms of things that we did not know about, because a lot of us probably went out of Mugen Train hating this man. Understandably so. But when you actually see what he was like before he became a demon and before we know him as just the first true threat, true long-term threat that we needed to take down, we got to see a different side of him and what made him such an important character, even though he isn't exactly somebody that we're, actively rooting for. But to see him in a different light and to see him as someone who truly does deeply care about people and has his own morals and standards and just overall drive. It's so refreshing. Yes, you're still able to hate Akaza. At the very least, you're able to see him in a different light, and I think that's why I respect his character so goddamn much. I don't think you're able to come out of that movie with the impression that Akaza is just a blind villain or just a inherently bad character after seeing his flashbacks and after seeing who he was prior to Akaza, who he was as Hakuji. And it's so beautiful. Even in the actual English dub as well, it's just so beautiful how they were able to show the personalities of the people that he cherished most, and especially when it comes to Keizo. He was just such a different type of personality that I would have expected for Akaza to have around him. It's such a fresh feeling. And by the way, Channing Tatum, you did a good ass job as Akaza's father-in-law. Holy shit. I mean, like, I don't know what I was expecting. He's probably like the main reason why I decided to watch Demon Slayer in dub as well, just to see how Channing Tatum would fare against an anime. I mean, like, I never thought that I would be able to link Channing Tatum to an actual anime before until until Demon Slayer, obviously. But hey, you did good. But to be fair, when it comes to Keizo's character, he is not exactly one of many personalities. He has this one pure emotion, and that's it. And that's fine. I think having a character that's just, overall consistent in terms of emotional depth is fine. Now, when it comes to the love interest, Koyuki, I think she was just so well presented. And again, in terms of being the opposite of Akaza as well, in terms of how we even see him as Hakuji before his father died, is just so good. Because Hakuji can very well be seen as just an overall menace. He is. And I think when you introduce a menace to a soft character and they're able to balance each other out and introduce the audience to someone who is capable of changing someone like Hakuji slash Akaza so drastically, that is what really does, for me personally, show that that person isn't just inherently bad. There are circumstances that need to be explored that will help influence that person and also help us determine, hey, this character truly was redeemable under these circumstances, or hey, this character just was always this way. And it's very clear to show that Agaza was very much in the circumstances of someone who didn't have much, who tried to provide for his sickly father, who tried to actually care for people and be there for people and protect people that he truly cherished, who just couldn't do that, not once, but twice. And I love the fact that they weren't afraid to, the author wasn't afraid to stray away from showing how bad things could get after being shown how good things can get. And it was so heartbreaking, obviously, just to see how things ended for Hakuji's story. But in terms of seeing how Akaza got those memories back at the end of the day, and that brought him to making the decision to take his own life in present day, it's just so it really was moving. And obviously, again, even though I did read this throughout, through the manga, and I knew what was going to happen, it is so different to see it frame by frame, to see it in motion. You're able to put everything into perspective when you are able to see things as visually intended, I guess you could say. Now, I skipped one portion, and I want to say this for last because I think, well, truly, Akaza versus Giyu and Tanjiro is going to be the last thing. But this one I saved for last too. But Zenitsu versus Kaigaku. I think this was an amazing fight. Even though people are saying, in terms of the action in the movie, this was the shortest, which it was. I expected it to be shorter. In the actual manga itself, it is so ridiculously short. I would have expected it to be like 2 minutes tops. People were expecting it to be the length of Shinobu's fight, which was around, 9 to 10 minutes. But the fight with Zenitsu and Kaigaku was, to me, it was very clear in the manga that this wasn't even meant to be something that was meant to take a long time. But they did such a good job at, one, elevating the scene, but extending it in a way that, because the thing with Demon Slayer, and honestly just any manga in general, is that you're faced with a problem. And that's the fact that when you're reading the manga, you don't get to see the full motions of things. You don't get to see the full motions of breathing techniques, or just to see how fleshed out the sword play is until you see it animated. And you're constantly reminded of that when watching Demon Slayer in general, especially because of the fact that now you're seeing what the moves are with these breathing techniques and the impact and the movement. And you forget that what you get in the manga is just the peak of those motions. It's the overall result of those breathing techniques. So it's so when you do sit down in theaters and watch something like this, you're just like, wow, holy shit, they're doing all that. And again, the direction for this is just so good to me, and I love the moment between the moment with Zenitsu where he's able to actually see and get the closure that he needs to actually say he's sorry, and he wanted to apologize for not only not being able to be the co-successors that he wanted himself and Kagaku to be, but also the fact that he apologizes for not being able to help Kagaku in the way that their master might have wanted. And I love the fact that at the end of the day, he says to Zenitsu, "You are my pride and joy." And it's just like, wow. Even though things did not go as planned, as they all might have wanted, it's just still to know that you have the love and support of somebody that you believe that you failed. It's so well done. It's so beautiful. And I wouldn't change that scene in the slightest. Yes, people can argue that it could have been longer, but if you want something in terms of this movie, it was ridiculously faithful to the manga. And that's the bare minimum that you can ask for an adaptation of this size, of this caliber. And you get a lot of anime originals in this movie itself that propels the manga forward. And it's not a bad thing. It's not as if they do it in a way that strays from the story or strays from the original intentions of the author. And the things that they do add truly does add to the scene even more. A good example is the additional breathing techniques that Shinobu does. But yeah, man, it's one of those things where I'm just constantly in awe about with Ufotable in general. I mean, I've been following Ufotable for a while. Man, they are there's something special. I cannot wait to see. I mean, we have a lot of years left, but I cannot wait to see what they have up their sleeve for the next adaptation that they do as well. But wow, this movie, y'all, it truly is. It's 2 hours and 35 minutes long, and you can feel it. Like they jam pack this movie. They don't waste to me, they don't waste a second. Yes, there are slow moments, but I think that's a way for the audience to catch their breath. And also just a way to add to the emotional impact of a scene by introducing just absolutely gorgeous OSTs, gorgeous voice acting, just over oh my god. The atmosphere of this movie is just one of those things that really does make you want more from the movie, even though it was already 2 hours and 35 minutes long. And oh my god, I almost forgot to talk about Nakime before I jumped into Tanjiro and Giyu versus Akaza. Nakime is one of my favorite demons in this entire series. It's not even close. I mean, this woman is absolutely, she's out of her mind. One, obviously, when it comes to her blood demon art, it is just so mind-boggling what she's able to accomplish. But her just setting the stage for Akaza versus Giyu and Tanjiro's entire battle is just so good. It's like she was selecting, Smash Bros platforms and stuff. It's just crazy. And the overall movement and just camera work throughout the Infinity Castle, especially during that fight, is out of this world. I don't even know how you even begin storyboarding something like this, but I just, again, when you're reading the manga, you don't know what you're missing until you see it in motion, until you see it fully adapted. Like, obviously, the Infinity Castle, it's meant to be a grand scale thing. But in the manga, in the anime, you truly do see Infinity Castle is exactly what it's meant to be. Just this grand, immense blood demon art that just seems to go on forever. And they really do show that when we get the reveal of Kiria, Ubuyashiki's only son, and his two sisters actively mapping out the Infinity Castle while they're trying to find Muzan. And you're able to see the crows are working overtime, by the way, but you're able to see the crows just, weaving in and out of multiple different constructs that Nakime, aka Upper Rank 4, is actively making in order to delay the Demon Slayers in finding Muzan, and also in order to make sure to separate the Demon Slayers to further complicate their operations. But I'm like, I don't think there is a better battlefield than the Infinity Castle. I'm talking just in general for anything that I have seen. I think this is a visual spectacle, and I really do hope that the author is just hyped and just at peace and feels just as special, seeing this adapted so beautifully as we do. Because I was just in awe. I thought, in season 1, episode 24, when we see the Infinity Castle for the first time, where Muzan kills all the lower demons, that was crazy. I thought that was just beautiful. And the fact that they're able to even elevate it even more in the season 3 premiere, when we see the upper rank meeting, I thought that was good. And then they say, no, we can go even further. And then we get the Infinity Castle movie. And oh my God, I don't know how they're able to constantly one-up themselves, but it's a treat to see. And oh my God. Anyways, I'm rambling now, so let me go ahead and go over to the main fight of the movie, Akaza versus Giyu and Tanjiro. Wow. First off, this fight is longer than an anime episode. I'm literally talking about just pure action. I'm taking out all of the flashbacks and backstories. It's that long. And the fact that, again, you're fighting in this place that's constantly changing, where you're constantly being literally thrown through buildings and so much destruction is happening around you. It's so beautiful and exciting, and it gets your heart racing when you are finally facing the person that that you've held such a grudge on, or such a grudge to, and they wasted no opportunity to just show how insanely powerful Agatha truly is. And not only that, Gyu did his thing. I'm so proud and so glad that they were able to properly show how badass Gyu truly is. Because up until this moment, he doesn't really get much time to shine. Obviously, we do get the moment between him and Rui, but that was just so simple. It was so clean and to the point where it just didn't feel, very satisfactory. I think the only thing that we got there is that there's an 11th form that he created called Dead Calm. But I think this really does show how good Gyu truly is, and him getting his mark was, wow. The OST that played during that moment, I don't even know where to begin. It's just everything about that scene was just so good to me. And honestly, the fact that they were able to even go into showing the depth to Akaza's character, even in his final moments where Tanjiro does end up cutting off his head, and they tell us he's forcing himself to adapt further to be able to live without his head. Wow. I was just like, ain't no way. Again, I read the manga and I was still flabbergasted to just see the lengths that Akaza was able to go. And honestly, I truly don't believe that that either of them would have lived if Akaza didn't have that change of heart and started to regain his memories and have Koyuki bring him back to who he was before Akaza. Bring Hakuji back to us. And just oh my god, man. But overall, when it comes to this movie, I would easily give this movie its flowers. It deserves all the love, all the respect. You can hate Demon Slayer as a story. You can even say that it's the most, mid story you ever see, but you cannot deny the love and the dedication and overall effort that was put into this movie. And it's so clear that they truly do love and care for this movie and want it to be as successful and as high quality as possible. And the hard work is paying off. We see constantly that Ufotable knows no bounds in terms of just creativity and production. But again, I'm beating a dead horse when it comes to singing Ufotable its praises. They know, everybody knows. You can hate Ufotable, you can hate Demon Slayer as much as you want, but you cannot say that they don't know what the fuck they're doing in that studio. But anyways, that's gonna be it for this video. It's been a while since I made a YouTube video, so hopefully, it's good to be back. But I hope y'all enjoyed the movie as much as I did, because it's gonna be really hard to get something else like this. But when that time comes, I'm gonna be excited to see what it is.